Yes, you heard that right. I read JOJOLION, the longest running part in the series, in 24 hours. I decided on my day off to use it to finally finish reading part 8. I'd read a little bit of it back a while ago, but it wasn't complete yet, so I didn't bother. Well, anyway, it was finished near the end of last year, so I finally decided I would reread it straight from the beginning. And I have to say, JOJOLION is perhaps the most bizarre part yet. There won't be any spoilers in this video. I just want to try and convince any prospective JoJo enjoyers to read the manga by giving it a bit of an overview and explain about how it builds on and improves the JoJo formula. If I was to describe an overarching theme for JOJOLION other than fate, which is the underlying theme of the entire series, it would be that of pursuit. Every character is fleshed out, given a goal they are actively pursuing, goals that may differ or be completely opposed, or the same goal but through different methods. It is in this act of pursuit that all the conflict arises, and the very idea of pursuit itself that the stands of JOJOLION seem to manifest their abilities from. I've heard many fans say that part 8 seems confusing to them, that unlike other parts, the conflict seems indirect, and that the stands are downgraded compared to before, purposely made weaker, more abstract, so that the fights would be more of a battle of wits and creativity, rather than a demonstration of strength. I disagree with this premise outright. To me, fights in JoJo have always favored the use of the mind over the use of strength, even before the introduction of stands. In part 1, Jonathan was many times weaker than Dio, due to his vampiric strength, but was still able to defeat him in the mansion for the first time, even before he knew how to use Hamon, because of a combination of bravery and resourcefulness. The same goes for Joseph, who was able to defeat the Pillarmen and Ultimate Cars, mostly through the use of bluffs and tricks. From part 3 onwards with the introduction of stands, this stays the same. For the most part, it's not a matter of who has a greater stand, but of who is able to outwit their opponent and plan a path to victory. What I believe is being mistaken for here is that there has been a shift from the series norm of there being mostly close-range stand enemies to there being mostly long-range or automatic trigger-based stands. Not some new phenomena where it's like a different stand altogether. These are the same type of stands that have been present throughout the rest of the series, they're just more prevalent. The reason being that these stands better fit the idea of pursuit by their nature, being able to cover large distances while avoiding direct combat so that their users can be free to pursue their goal. This actually makes for a highly interesting and exhilarating conflict, with Josuke himself having what can be considered a close-range stand, needing to pursue his goal directly himself, and being put in nearly constant, automatic danger because of it. In trying to avoid falling to unknown attackers and abilities, he's often forced to flee while attempting to discern the trigger for the enemy's ability or the escape range that he needs to go into, and this puts him in danger of what I like to call stage hazards. When the only path he can take is unknown and suboptimal, he may accidentally take a fall into something sharp, or have to run through things like windows and hazards in the environment that have the potential to kill or dismember him. Everything seems to have the potential to kill in this state, and injuries caused by such things are what I can only describe as body horror. In fact, almost everyone and everything undergoing stand attacks seems to have brief moments of highly disturbing and grotesque trauma, more so than any other part in the series. JOJOLION is not for the faint of heart, and at times explores darker themes than a fan of the series might be used to. Perhaps due to the author Araki being able to more freely express what he wants, since the series is now being published for a mature audience. Often when I came across these scenes, I had to imagine, what would they do for an anime adaptation when it eventually airs on Japanese TV, as they have always had to censor wounds and injuries by drawing over it with a black shadow. I'm sure if you watched Stardust Crusaders a couple years ago, you might have seen it, where they didn't have the uncensored Blu-ray version available. They'd censor things like Jotaro smoking a cigarette, or whenever someone got injured, cut with something, it would just be covered in a black shadow. Some of the scenes in JOJOLION includes characters being so maimed that I think they'd have to just cover the whole screen in a shadow. People seem to just casually lose limbs and fingers in gruesome ways, and the method of recovery makes it even worse. I can't say how people heal without spoiling anything, but I'll just say, there ain't any healing based stands out here looking to give a hand. Because of this, everything feels more real. There are genuine consequences for anyone who gets into a fight, and healing is not a fallback that characters can use to make riskier decisions like was done in part 4 onwards. But onto a topic less gruesome, I was pleasantly surprised to find that JOJOLION was not full of plot holes as many would have you believe. I think the fact that it was serialized over the span of a decade, and that the fans had to wait for scanlations, caused them to forget parts of the story as time went on. Thanks to the fact that I was able to read JOJOLION in 24 hours, I can say the story is cohesive and melds together, and is actually fairly linear. Everything that happens is intentional, unlike, say, part 4. There isn't a bunch of side stories that the characters go through that could accidentally leave things unresolved. And I could say anything that is left unresolved is either due to the nature of Josuke's ultimate goal, or done deliberately, so that it may be further explored in the future of the series, such as in JoJo lands.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
In relation to earlier parts, I had to say JoJolion is unique and clearly the result of unbound creativity at its finest. Being published in the monthly ultrajump for a mature audience rather than the weekly shonenjump really let Araki stretch his wings. Instead of being bound by a weekly schedule, resulting in a sort of villain of the week type of writing, he's able to design a grand narrative in which the characters are given life not out of the obligation of meeting a deadline, but as a natural consequence of time and careful planning. No longer needing to shape his artistic expression around the palette of the youth really helped JoJolion to shine and stand apart unconventionally from the rest of the series. It was this unbound expression that kept me glued to my seat reading it, and is also the thing that makes me very excited for the future of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, since I gave this part of the manga such a glowing review, you might be asking yourself, should I catch up on the manga and read all the way up till JoJolion? Yes, 100%. You need to turn from your evil anime-only ways and join me, becoming enlightened to all things JoJo. I'm sure you've heard the news that Stone Ocean is going to be releasing the rest of its episodes in fall of this year. That is nearly a year gap in between the first release of the episodes and the final release of the episodes. For a lot of people, this is killing the hype. So I'd suggest just getting the manga done with. Get it read, and get excited for the anime later. I read the manga, and I am still excited to watch Stone Ocean. I love to see it adapted. It's not like you remember 100% of when it airs, so it's great to see it. Because right now, if you don't, who's to say when Part 7 and Part 8 will get adapted? Even if it's a guarantee, it might take 10 years or more to get there. And in that time, you could be hit by a truck, isekai'd, unable to consume JoJo because it doesn't exist in your new world. Or you could get married, have kids, and be too busy to watch it, or you could be dead by then with the words on your tombstone reading with their dying breath they wish they had read all of JoJo, but early in life they foolishly declared, "I'll just watch the anime." Such is the fate of anime onlys.
I'm glad you're dead. May you burn for your sins.
So I'll say this, just read it while you can. You never know what might happen in the future.
It got his eyes!
We might never even get an anime adaptation. You're missing out on really, really, really good crap. Anyway, that's all I have to say about JoJolion. Have you read any of the manga, or do you plan to? Did you enjoy the manga as much as the anime? Leave me an answer in the comments below and I'll try to reply to all of them. If you thought this was interesting, please like and share the video, and check out my previous video on how copyright ruins JoJo. More videos are coming in the future, a lot of JoJo ones, but I promise I'm #not just a JoJo tuber. And I will eventually make videos on things such as Yakuza, Trails, Persona, and more. So you better be hitting that sub button if you know what's good for ya. Anyways, thanks for watching. Farewell.